Exercise causes a dramatic weight loss. And yet the beauty of implementing this is that as you lose weight, you don't get the saggy, baggy elephant effect. And John Gabriel, he wrote a book called The Gabriel Method, and he went from, I have to give it to you in kilos, he was 183 kilos, well, that would be probably nearly 400 pounds, and he lost, I think it was 100 kilos, so what's that, 200 pounds? He's now 220, he's now 83 kilos. And he's got a picture of him in his school, four photos. One where he's obese, another where he's a bit slimmer, another where he's a bit slimmer again. He did this in his 40s, and the last photo is muscular. And you can count his abdominal muscles, you know, the six-pack. And when you look, there's no hanging skin. What did he do? He did the high-intensity interval training.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Barbara O'Neill, and today we're diving into weight loss. As we age, losing weight can become more challenging, but it's definitely not impossible if you have the right knowledge. Did you know that about 70% of adults over the age of 50 struggle with maintaining a healthy weight? This can lead to a range of health issues, from joint pain to increased risk of heart disease. But there are some secrets and strategies that can help you lose weight effectively without resorting to extreme diets or harsh exercise routines. In this video, I'll be sharing simple yet powerful weight loss secrets that are backed by science and proven to work, especially for those of us in our later years. So let's get started.
63% of Australians are either overweight or obese. I think that America's not far behind, and I say far behind because I know that Australia has taken over America. But when I'm in Alabama and I speak at a health school there, I'll be there next week, and I go to the little town of Loveland, I have to tell you, I think that they're bigger than our big. They're very large people in those little towns. So my inquiry always is why? And so the first thing I'm going to look at, and there are a few factors that come together to cause this, and that number one is the food that we're eating. When we looked at the liver, we looked at this. And this morning when we looked at diabetes, we looked at this. So we're going to look at it again in relation to weight. And it's the high carbohydrate diet that many people are eating today. I'm still mastering the art of saying one thing and writing another. So bread is very common. Cereal, there's a whole aisle devoted to cereal. And many people having bread and cereal for breakfast, by mid-morning they're wanting something else, so they reach for, and we're just going to say cakes, etc., because if we say everything, there's not enough room on the board for it. When you go into muffins and croissants and donuts and pasties and pies and pastry, etc., etc., etc. So we're just going to put etc. Also, pasta. I'm a fifth generation Australian Scottish descent. I didn't know what pasta and pizza was till I was about 18. So what did I grow up with? Sausages or chops, mashed potatoes, frozen peas or beans every single night of the week, except for Sunday when Mum would do a roast lamb. And everyone I knew ate like that. Our relatives ate like that, the neighbours ate like that. As a fifth generation Australian, I grew up in a little Presbyterian church. Everyone in the church ate like that. I came to the conclusion as a child that everyone in the whole world ate like that, but it's not quite true, is it? And when I was about 16, I had a boyfriend who was about 19, and he had a friend who was a vegetarian. I'd never heard of such a thing. Had never even heard of brown bread. So this was real traditional Australian. Rice, I'd never had rice. I don't think I went to a Chinese restaurant till I was about 18, and that's the first time I ate rice. Potatoes, well, we ate potatoes every meal. And Last and certainly least in nutritive value is the pure crystallized acid.
You know, when we talk about pure crystallized acid, we're really just talking about sugar. It's everywhere, added to pretty much everything we eat these days. Whether it's drinks, sauces, or even foods you wouldn't think of as sweet, sugar is packed into almost everything. And the trouble is, sugar is addictive. It doesn't add any real nutrition, just empty calories that our bodies quickly burn through. So what happens? We get a quick energy boost, then we crash, and before we know it, we're craving more sugary or carb-heavy snacks. Another big factor here is processed foods. They're convenient and everywhere, but they're usually loaded with unhealthy fats and refined sugars and pretty much devoid of real nutrients. And you can easily overeat these foods because they don't have the fiber or other good stuff that tells your body to stop when you've had enough. That's why we end up eating way more calories than we actually need. And think about portion sizes for a minute. Over the years, those have grown a lot too. What used to be a normal serving is now seen as a small portion, especially in restaurants or fast food joints. We've gotten used to seeing these massive plates of food, and it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we need to finish everything in front of us. That habit of cleaning your plate has stuck around, even though the portions are way bigger than they should be. Then there's the fact that we just aren't moving as much. A lot of jobs these days keep us sitting at desks for hours on end, and after work, it's so tempting to just relax on the couch with some TV. Add that to the extra calories we're eating, and it's no surprise that obesity is on the rise.
But on the high carbohydrate diet, and this is what a lot of people don't realise, especially when people go on a weight loss diet and stop all the fat, yeah? Fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free, fat-free, fat-free. And yet what are they eating? Lots of carbohydrates. Do you know fat gives the feeling of satiation or satisfaction? And the best weight loss diet is a diet that stops your hunger. And fat stops the hunger. So what's happening on this high carbohydrate diet? People have eliminated the fat, and they're eating lots and lots and lots of this, not realising that that excess glucose, once we've filled up the energy cycle, we've filled up the glycogen stores, and so now the body sends it to the fat cells. And on this high carbohydrate diet, what's happening to Americans and Australians? They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, it's one of the most dangerous fats because what the body does is it stores it in the probably areas of the body that's not used a lot, maybe the arms, the belly, the hips, the thighs, and then when that gets all filled up, then it starts to go to the internal organs, weighing them down. And in the book, Wheat Belly, notice the title of the book, Wheat Belly, Dr. William Davis, he shows that sugar particularly, sugar and the hybridised wheat, and the hybridised wheat is found in most breads, cakes, cereals, pastas, pizzas. Because it gets the blood sugar level up so high, so fast, as we looked at this morning, then very quickly it's dumped as a visceral fat on the belly. And in the book Wheat Belly, I think the word wheat belly he uses on just about every page, showing this process. And another fact, another very misunderstood fact, is that glucose burns at 4 calories per gram, whereas fat, it burns at 9 calories per gram. Now this piece of information, which is fact, is in just about every weight loss book as proof that if you want to lose weight, don't eat the fat. It's going to give you more than twice the calories. But what the people don't understand is what a calorie is. A calorie is a unit of energy. And if you want a high energy food, what do you eat? Fat. It's going to give you more than twice the units of energy compared to glucose. But if you're eating more calories than you can burn, yes, it's going to be stored.
When you eat more carbs than your body needs, they end up getting stored as fat. After your muscles and liver have filled up their glycogen stores, any extra glucose has to go somewhere, so it gets turned into triglycerides and stored in fat cells. If you keep eating a lot of carbs and don't stay active, those fat cells start growing bigger and eventually you gain weight. Insulin plays a big part in all of this too. When you eat a lot of carbs, especially refined sugars and processed foods, your blood sugar spikes. In response, your pancreas releases insulin to help bring those levels down by letting cells absorb the glucose for energy. But if you keep bombarding your body with too much glucose, your cells start to become less responsive to insulin, leading to insulin resistance. This not only makes losing weight tougher, but it can also put you at risk for issues like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. The better approach is a balanced diet that includes healthy fats, lean proteins, and complex carbs. Healthy fats, like those in avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil, can help keep you full longer by suppressing hunger hormones. This makes it easier to avoid overeating. The goal is to eat in moderation and to understand that fats, when chosen wisely and eaten in the right amounts, can actually support a healthy, sustainable weight loss plan.
You see, it's not the fat that makes you fat. It's actually these refined carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are not bad. What a relief. We like them. The problem is when they're overdone and refined. That's the problem. When they're overdone and refined. So you don't have to stop the carbohydrates. You just have to make sure they're not overdone, they're not refined, and ideally use replacements for the wheat. Because as we looked at in diabetes this morning, in the hybridization of the wheat, they change the starch structure and it gets the blood sugar level up higher than even refined sugar. Ooh. And so changing the times that you eat, that makes a big difference. And changing the food you eat makes a huge difference. I was reading the testimony of a chef. He was large, obese. And he said he used to eat little bits all day long. All day long. That's all he'd eat, little bits all day long. So he decided to do an experiment. He decided to get all the little bits and put it into 3 meals. He knew the old saying, and have most of it at breakfast and lunch. And he lost a lot of weight. And he ate the same amount of food. And he ate the same type of food. He just changed the times when he did it. Because he gave his stomach a break. You see, it's like my husband. He says, I had a 2-hour job to do in the office today. He said, at the end of the day, it's 8 hours later and I still haven't done it. Because he said someone would ring up. Someone would come into the office. I kept getting interrupted. Has that ever happened to you? That's exactly what happens to digestion. When we put food in our stomach, we should now leave it. Let it do its work. After about an hour and a half, 2 hours, start sipping on some water. Then you don't water down your hydrochloric acid. It takes 3.5 to 4 hours to digest a meal. If a person has a meal of watermelon, that's probably gone in about 2 hours. But when someone has a balanced meal, which is shown here, it takes about 3.5 to 4 hours to digest. And then the stomach loves a 1-hour rest. Let your stomach have a rest between meals. And in that rest time, it has time to revive and restore and replace the digestive enzymes it used at the last meal.
When it comes to losing weight, the focus on refined carbohydrates and meal timing is really important. Refined carbs can lead to quick spikes in your blood sugar, which triggers your body to produce insulin. This hormone is responsible for storing fat, making it tougher for you to shed those extra pounds. By choosing unrefined carbohydrates and being mindful of portion sizes, you can keep your blood sugar levels stable, which helps manage hunger and energy throughout the day. Meal timing also matters a lot. Giving your stomach a break between meals allows it to digest food properly and absorb all those essential nutrients. When you eat larger, balanced meals and wait a bit before the next one, you're likely to feel full for longer. This reduces those pesky cravings that often lead to snacking on unhealthy foods. Plus, focusing on whole foods like fruits, veggies, whole grains, and lean proteins can be a game changer. These foods are typically lower in calories and more filling, making it easier to maintain a caloric deficit, which is key for weight loss. So by adopting these practices, you're not just working toward a slimmer figure, you're also fostering a healthier lifestyle that can benefit you in the long run.
Dr. Atkins' new revolutionary diet. Righto, I said, I'll look at it. Do you know, I couldn't put it down. It's a fascinating book. His research and his story is very interesting. I went out that day and I bought his book. And this is his story, Dr. Atkins. He said he was a GP, late 40s, putting on a bit of excess weight. He knew his science. He knew that carbohydrates stored as fat, so he decided to do an experiment on himself. He decided to stop all carbohydrates. And he theorised that if he stopped all carbohydrates, his body would start to live on his fat stores. So what did he eat? He chose foods that had no carbohydrate. So his diet was high in protein, meat, butter, cream, cheese, eggs, that's a lot of protein. Fat, meat, butter, cream, cheese, eggs, that's a lot. But something else surprised me that you never hear about. He ate 3 cups of vegetables a day, and 1 cup had to be greens. And so there was the fibre. The weight just fell off him. He theorised right. He wasn't giving carbohydrates to his body, so, well, hardly any, a little bit in the vegetables. So his body started to live on his fat stores. The weight started to drop off him. He was never hungry because these are the 3 foods that give the feeling of satiation, satisfaction. He had lots of energy because your liver can convert protein and fat to glucose if it needs it, and it can break down your fat stores to give you glucose. It's called gluconeogenesis, creating glucose from the fat stores. Has he found the perfect diet? Never hungry, lots of energy, weight's falling off him, so he started to put some of his patients on this. It is estimated that 11 million people were helped by his diet. His book was number 1 on the New York Times best-selling book list 4 years running. This guy demands some attention. But the problem is that after a while, some of his patients were developing arthritis because this is a high acid food. In fact, I had a man come to me wanting a consultation when I was in New York a few years ago. He said, I used to be one of Dr. Atkins' patients. He said, I'm a vegetarian, I'm an Adventist, but I was getting overweight, I was getting diabetes, heart disease, so I went to Dr. Atkins because he's a very famous doctor. And Dr. Atkins, he said, was a very gracious man. He said, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to stop this high carbohydrate diet. So he said, I started eating meat. I didn't eat a lot. I had a lot of vegetables. He said, I didn't get diabetes. He said, my heart problems all resolved. He said, the weight dropped. But he said, I'm getting arthritis. And he said, you are the first nutritionist that hasn't totally slammed Atkins. I'm interested. I said, well, Atkins' theory was correct. It's what I have shown you today. But what you can do superior to Atkins. You can do the plant proteins. You can do the plant fats. Dr. Atkins, on his first stage, he got people down to 20 grams of starch, carbohydrates a day. Do you know there's no need to go that low? All you need to do is greatly reduce the carbohydrates, ideally stop the wheat, eat more vegetables, eat more legumes, nuts and seeds, and you can get a similar result. But the beauty of the plant proteins, it's much cleaner burning fuel. It doesn't leave an acid waste like the protein does. And when I was consulting with this man, he said to me, I believe if Dr. Atkins had read the China study, Atkins would have become a vegetarian. What an interesting comment. So you can get those results, but you can do it on a plant diet as long as you do the legumes. And so many people say, oh, legumes, you've got to soak them, you've got to cook them. Well, when you go home tonight, just fill up the saucepan and fill it up with lentils. In the morning, rinse it well, bring it to the boil, rinse it again, put it in your slow cooker. There's lots of shortcuts. Or soak a whole lot, rinse heaps of them and then put them in snap lock bags in the freezer. Then you just pull it out, cook them. There's lots of shortcuts. And you can get organic beans in tins. Just make sure you bring them to the boil and rinse them very well. So it's easy, it need not be difficult. You see, animal protein, it burns at, so let's look at protein. Animal protein, only 58% is burnt as fuel. So that's a 42% waste. That's the acid waste. And that's what Dr. Colin Campbell found in his book, The China Study. He could switch cancer cells on and off, and we looked at this briefly when we looked at cancer on the first night, because it's an acid waste. And cancer thrives in an acid environment. We looked at that. Whereas plant protein, it's a lot cleaner burning fuel. It doesn't have that acid waste. So with plant protein, you're getting up to about 80% easy is burnt as fuel. That's a big difference. So your plant protein is a superior protein.
Animal protein can lead to a lot of acid waste in your body, which can be harmful over time. This waste can cause inflammation and contribute to chronic diseases like arthritis and cancer. On the other hand, plant proteins from sources like beans, nuts, and whole grains provide essential nutrients along with fibre. This fibre helps with digestion, keeps you feeling full, and can help regulate blood sugar levels, making it easier to maintain a healthy weight. Plant-based diets also come packed with antioxidants and phytochemicals that boost your health and may lower your risk of various diseases. Research shows that people who eat more plant-based foods generally have lower rates of heart disease, high blood pressure, and certain types of cancer compared to those who consume more animal products. Transitioning to plant-based proteins doesn't mean you have to sacrifice flavour or satisfaction. Many find that meals centred around beans, lentils, and whole grains can be just as hearty and enjoyable as those with meat. By incorporating a variety of these foods into your meals, you can improve your health and make more sustainable choices. It's all about finding a balance that works for you and your lifestyle. Thank you for joining me today as we explored effective weight loss secrets. I hope you found these tips insightful and empowering, especially as you navigate your health journey. Remember, small, consistent changes can lead to significant results over time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends and family who might benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe for more health tips and insights, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you have any questions or personal experiences you'd like to share, feel free to leave a comment below. I love hearing from you. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep striving for a healthier, happier life.